Alright guys, we are going to be talking about Colleen Hoover like the rest of the internet and the rest of the world. Now, I have been thinking a lot about Colleen Hoover recently, mainly because of the It Ends With Us drama and the Team Justin versus Team Blake situations and the marketing and the movie and all of the things. So she's been on my mind like a lot more recently. I normally don't really expend any brain power towards her as an author, but I've been so intrigued lately. And let's just be honest, there was absolutely no way that they could have come out of this press situation unscathed. I knew when they announced that this was becoming a movie, I was like, this is not gonna go good. Like, how are they gonna do this? And I heard the movie isn't even that good, so. And I have been thinking a lot about her rise to fame, how her books have gotten published and how she has sold so many freaking copies of her book, and it just like seems like she has taken over Book Talk, taken over the world, all of that stuff. And a lot of things come with that. A lot of drama, a lot of controversy. So we're gonna get into all of it today because people have opinions on Colleen Hoover, okay? People have opinions. I feel like you were either ride or die, love her, or you're like, I've heard so many bad things, I am not gonna purchase one of her books. And then you have the people who will like die on the horse that if you read Colleen Hoover, you're stupid and you're dumb. And like, how can you support someone who glorifies abuse? Like it ranges, okay? And I did just wanna say a little bit of a disclaimer. And that is, I have only read 2 Colleen Hoover books. I have read It Ends With Us and I have read Verity. And I realized very quickly that I did not think that Colleen was an author for me personally. And so that's the disclaimer. I do not gravitate towards her books. And while I have thoughts, which you will see, I don't want to actively be shitting on something that has gotten other people into reading. I think that the most important thing is that you're reading. So if you're watching this video and you love Colleen Hoover, I'm not coming for you. I am just, talking about what's happened. Okay, so I'm not coming for you. And I respect your decision to read Colleen Hoover. If anyone asks me what I think about her books or her as an author, I will be honest. All of that said, let's go into the overview of Miss Coho's career. Prior to publishing her first book in 2012, so a little over a decade ago, she was living a completely different life. She was making $9 an hour as a social worker, which is absolutely crazy. Her husband was a truck driver and they were raising their 3 kids in a mobile home, which we love a trailer park queen. And I can say that I was raised in a trailer park. I'm not hating, I really loved it. I'm like not even joking, I had the time of my life. She was living there and she decided that she wanted to write for fun. All that I have to say is if Colleen Hoover can decide that she wants to write for fun and then become one of the most commercially successful authors, if you have the urge to be like, I think I'm gonna try that, try it. Try it and see what happens, because obviously this shit worked out for her. She started writing for fun and she self-published her first book, Slammed, in 2012, which got on the New York Times bestseller list. So that just kind of goes to show, like, because there are reasons why I think her books have become more popular, and we will talk about that. But for your first self-published book that probably got next to no marketing, hitting the New York Times bestseller list is actually crazy. Like, I will hand it to her. That is actually pretty insane. And so after that, she decided to quit her job and write full-time. She has published 26 books in total and has spent a collective 162 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. She also, since that time, has sold more copies than James Patterson and John Grisham combined, and those boys be churning out the books. They sell them, they're getting those numbers. So with all of that being said, she obviously was a popular author. People knew about her. She was on the New York Times bestseller list, which is like an author's dream. And she had reached all of those goals before 2019, 2020, the whole COVID, TikTok era, okay? And COVID is actually why I think her popularity skyrocketed because she already was very popular. She was doing well. She was selling books, but her growth since COVID and since all of that happened was exponential. During the beginning of COVID, Colleen Hoover actually put 5 of her novels available for free in ebook format. People were at home, they were bored, they saw a book, saw that it was free, decided to read it, fell in love with it, and because my theory is that because they had all this extra stimulus check money, this is, okay, I also need to preface that this is like more America that I'm talking about right now, but people got that extra stimulus check money and then they started buying every single book that she had read at that point. And even if it wasn't every single book, it was a vast majority of her books people were purchasing. And so I think that was a brilliant marketing tool. Kiki, my boss, actually, if you've been here for a little bit, you hear me mention her here and there. She said that that's actually what got her into reading Colleen Hoover, is because she read those 5 free books and then decided to purchase more. The marketing strategy, it worked, it was solid, and everyone had extra money lying around and nothing to do. And so everyone is just purchasing these books. And then to combine that, there was also a surge in people using social media, especially TikTok, because everyone's sitting at home, they're bored, they've been doing the same thing for 2 weeks straight and they're freaking bored, so they're gonna be on social media, and everyone started talking about books on social media, and so you're just seeing Colleen Hoover, Colleen Hoover, Colleen Hoover, Colleen Hoover as you're scrolling, okay? All of those things combined led her books to, it was like its own marketing strategy that she didn't even have to do anything for. She had to literally put in 0 work, and everyone was talking about her on Book Talk. And it was all of like these guides about like where to start with her reading. Are the standalones better than the series, and blah, 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 all of this stuff. There was so much conversation about books in general during that time, but especially Colleen Hoover. And that leads into the next topic that I wanted to cover, which is her New York Times bestseller list extravaganza. To start, I think that it's important to note that in 2016, this just kind of goes back to say her popularity before COVID, but in 2016, It Ends With Us first print run was 2.5 million copies, which is crazy for a first print run. It's just like, that's insane. With that, people were saying that during COVID, the years of 2020 to 2022, what was so odd and kind of surprising about Colleen Hoover's commercial success as far as selling copies, being on the New York Times bestseller list, what was odd about that was that when you have book series like 50 Shades of Grey, Twilight, Harry Potter, all of those things, it's more normal for multiple books to hit the bestseller list at a time, and also multiple times, because they're writing a series. But what was weird about this and what was abnormal was that they were all standalones hitting the New York Times bestseller list at multiple times. Colleen Hoover had 6 of the 10 New York Times bestseller slots. 6 of her books were the top 10. In 2022, Colleen Hoover sold around 3 to 5 million. Honestly, my math is really bad. The point is, she sold more books than the Bible in the year of 2022. As of 2022, she has sold 20 million books, and I kind of wanted to do the math and do a little bit more investigation and see another very popular author, what they have written. And so Stephen King, since 1974 is when he started writing, he has sold 350 million copies. So he has 50 years to Colleen's 12, but that's still a very, very, very impressive number to have sold, only writing for a little over a decade. So with all of these eyes on your work and more people seeing it, people, especially if you're on like a TikTok algorithm, you are seeing things that maybe you're not asking to see. More eyes on your work leads to more speculation, more opinions, and maybe some pointing out of issues that her fans maybe didn't see before because they had their blinders on. They were just like, Coho is life, you know, they just had their blinders on. It is no shock, I am sure, that you guys have heard the rumors that Colleen Hoover is actually an extremely problematic person and also author. She has been accused more than one time of romanticizing and glorifying abuse, addiction, and all of like the terrible things that you can experience as a human, basically. The first kind of accusations of this that I heard of was when Colleen decided that she wanted to release a coloring book for It Ends With Us, and people tore this girl apart. They tore her up. And she was like, okay, I get it. I understand. I feel you. I get it. Not coming out, not being released, not happening. Don't you worry. I believe in you. However, I do have to say that you think she would have learned, because there is also a nail polish line that is currently collaborating with It Ends With Us for the movie. And so it's kind of the same thing. Like, you are using a book about domestic violence to sell nail polish. And it just feels icky, you know, like it just doesn't feel right. And then there is also just the accusations that her writing is just not good, that it is cringy, that it's gross at times, that it's just so problematic and slightly racist sometimes. If you just search into TikTok, Colleen Hoover weird book quotes, you will get a plethora of examples of things where you're like, what the fuck am I reading right now? Like, what is that? Like, what is that genuinely? She just has a lot going on in her little brain. Like, the plots of her books, her business motives are just a little sus to me. I won't really be talking about the movie yet. I've heard a lot about the movie, like a lot about the movie, and I haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to like give my opinion on it, but I do think that the whole press tour scandal is really, really interesting, but I can't really go into my thoughts on that without spoiling things that I know about the movie, so we're gonna pause on that. But in closing, I did ask two of my coworkers, one being Kiki, their thoughts on Colleen Hoover and her fans and all of that stuff, and I think what they had to say was pretty interesting. So I asked one of my friends their thoughts on Colleen Hoover, and she said that because they all deal with trauma, abuse, addiction, childhood issues, all of the stories are starting to run together. So she was enjoying her books, but as she read more, she was having trouble separating them, and she just felt like she was getting the same thing every single time. And so she decided that she wanted to kind of step back, take a break, read some other stories. And she said that she doesn't really feel like there's any significant character development for the characters, and she said that she knows what she's doing. She's selling a crap ton of books, but content-wise, the quality of the book and the quality of her writing does not match with how much she's selling, which I do think is something to note and talk about. Is the New York Times bestseller list is not reflecting people's opinions of those books after they have bought them. So you can all, like 100,000 people could go out and buy, you know, whatever random ass book, and all of those people are purchasing that book, but that doesn't mean that they like it. It means that something about it was intriguing enough for them to pick up that book and purchase it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they like it. Do with that what you will. And then I asked Kiki, and Kiki said that she appreciates what Colleen Hoover has done for the writing community, because she has obviously gotten people into reading that either before have not taken the time to reading or didn't think that there was books out there that they could enjoy. So she has done a lot for the book community and for the reading community by bringing people to it. She also said, is she a phenomenal author? No. Is she entertaining? Most of the time. Are her books problematic? Also, yes. And when I asked her what she thought about Colleen Hoover fans specifically, she said that she wished that people who read Colleen Hoover would read other books, and even in the same genre, but read other books by other authors and kind of expand your palette and your taste. And I do have to say that with reading different types of book, as you read more, your reading taste develops and changes, and something that you maybe liked at the beginning of your reading career, you might not like a few years later after you've tried other things. So I agree with that. Do I think that cohorts, whatever they call themselves, do I think that they need to be like bullied online? No, but I just don't think that bullying online makes sense in general. Like, I just don't think that makes any sense. Like, don't be mean to people. Let them do whatever they want, but within reason. But do I think that they need to try other things? Yes. Yes. And honestly, see, here's the thing. Here's the part where I have to be honest. Like, when I ask someone's favorite book and they say Colleen Hoover, do I instantly go like, oh, like, we're not going to be able to talk about books? Yes, I do. I'm not going to lie. I'm honest. So all that to say, there's a lot going on here, and I'm sure I missed something, but let me know in the comments below if you're Team Blake or Team Justin with this whole thing, and I will see you guys later.